while it does work for one person, that same exact strategy will not work for the next person.
Where should their money go?
It's just from a dollar invested to the revenue gained, it's just absolute maximum right there.
All right, what's up, guys? I'm here with Karthik Ramaswamy, the COO of UZ Marketing. For those of you who don't know, UZ Marketing is a great provider for traditional marketing materials like yard signs, postcards, and much more, as well as other marketing services based out of Houston, Texas. So what's up, Karthik?
Hey, how's it going, Michael Pisco? It's very good to be here. I'm glad you invited me on here. I'm excited to see what we got for your viewers today.
Of course, man. First thing I'd love to dive into would be your story and how you became the COO of UZ Marketing.
Yeah, just a brief overview. UZ Marketing was founded about a decade ago in its first iteration. I was the first employee over there back when we were doing a lot of other things, not just print marketing. We were doing a lot of digital marketing. And then the printing side started taking off quite a bit because we found a little niche called in the yard sign industry, an industry that was generally taken over largely by mom and pop shops all across the country. But we found that niche and we were able to serve that niche extremely well. So we branched full throttle into that. And that's how we got to the second iteration of UZ Marketing. And I guess because I was loyal and provided a lot of value, I grew with the company. I was the first employee, so I guess I'd be the first in line to be considered for that anyway. So just that plus all the analytical and data mindset of efficiency, optimization, all that stuff, just channel that in. That's how I became the COO.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was watching the video you put out recently about the history of UZ, and I found it super interesting that you guys basically you resold yard signs, but you were kind of like the middleman. And then because of the competition that created, you lost your supplier and you had all these orders that you had to fulfill. So you guys kind of just sidestepped, started making yard signs yourself. And clearly that was a great decision because UZ took off afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lucky break, a lucky blessing in disguise, really, because we were scrambling at that moment, like, oh man, we have like X amount of orders to fulfill. How are we going to do it? So start making it ourselves.
Awesome. So something that I find very interesting at this point, obviously you guys have a bunch of different departments, not just traditional, but traditional in pressure washing, at least I know is a huge with UZ Marketing. So I was curious how you think with, society and everything changing, the world around us becoming more digital, how do you think that'll kind of affect the traditional marketing side of things in pressure washing?
Very interesting question because I'm seeing it from a bird's eye perspective. And I'm observing everything that's going on with the Meta advertisement, the Google advertisement, and all these other digital ads. Like Hulu's now offering paid ads. You can post up a pressure washing commercial on there. I think the buy-in is $500, and you can target it extremely well, surprisingly well. So you can even target to homeowners. But then all these like AI algorithms, they keep advancing, but where does that leave traditional marketing? And it's a very good question in this day and age because it's still around. And there's a reason that the first piece of marketing that any business owner buys is a business card. It's the cheapest entry point into advertisement, hands down. Like $30-$40, you can get 1,000 business cards and you got your name and your logo right there. And I don't see that going anywhere, not anytime soon, at least for the next 10 to 15 years. We're actually playing around with our own digital business cards. So when we go and meet people who are our prospective clients, we send them a digital business card. We get their phone number. We send them a text message so they have our contact information. So we're playing around with that. We're trying new forms of business card, but it still seems the actual physical business card is pretty popular. As far as return on investment, business cards is like the least return on investment. The most return on investment you're going to find is mailers and yard signs. Now, when you compare the data, what the cost per acquisition, and I know you're a marketing guy, so you kind of understand this lingo.
Yep.
I hope your viewers can follow along if I'm not getting too technical on jargon, but basically the cost per acquisition of a yard sign, let's say you buy 100 yard signs at like $4 each. Well, the number of impressions that you get from a yard sign is extremely high because if it's up for 3 days and it's in a well-placed position, then you're seeing, the eyes are seeing it like every few seconds and they're getting a good glimpse of it. And since it's only like pressure washing, house washing, roof washing, it's just like 2 to 3 lines, and then a phone number, keep it short and simple. They're getting 100% of the message. And if they're interested, snap a picture, or if it's easy to remember phone number or something, most likely they'll snap a picture. If it applies, then they'll take a picture. So I would estimate that the impression count per yard sign per day is at least 150 to 200. And out of those 150 to 200, if you extrapolate that 3 days, which is a approximate lifespan of a single yard sign, depending on the placement, then you're looking at about 500 impressions. So, and that's just off a single yard sign. If you extrapolate that by 100 yard signs times 500, then you're starting to get into a lot of impressions. And especially if it's in an area that, let's say you go and wash a house in a neighborhood that has very dirty driveways, then almost every single person in that neighborhood is going to be your target audience. And especially when you start doing 1 to 2 of those houses and everybody's got the Jones syndrome, they're looking over, man, their driveway looks really good, their house looks really good, their roof looks really good. Well, then you just got a really nice spot for a yard sign, which is, it's, you could do something similar with digital marketing, but you won't be able to have that understanding of the actual neighborhood that you could with the physical placement of it. That's just a quick example.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, traditional marketing, in my opinion, I don't think will really ever go anywhere. Not for any time soon, at least. But I'm curious how you think digital will now come into play with all the new platforms coming out, the new forms of advertising. Right now, there's a bit of a barrier to entry. So if you don't have the experience and knowledge in marketing, then you're not going to get amazing results. But do you think it's going to become something where basically anyone can do it like easily? I'm sure you're probably pretty well versed in AI and how things are going there. So I guess what are your thoughts in that?
Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword actually, because I'm watching Meta consistently improve their algorithm and consistently make changes, but I also see it deteriorating a lot significantly because there are certain, I go on pressure washing groups all the time and I see these guys complaining how they get absolutely no return on their Facebook ads. And like genuinely out of curiosity, I hit these guys up. I'm like, hey, do you mind showing me your ad? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to see what you're doing. Maybe I can offer some suggestions and stuff. And I compare that with some of the other successful ads I've seen, and they're almost like one for one identical in that, like, they target the right people, they got the right message, but it works for this guy and doesn't work for this guy. So I'm curious, like, well, what is impacting that? Is it the target, the audience themselves? Is it like maybe the small town works better than this big city? Is there a competition? Like, those are some things that you're not able to see on those platforms that do impact the results. So and I say it's a double-edged sword because, like, while it does work for one person, that same exact strategy will not work for the next person. So unless you're like you said, super well versed in digital marketing and know exactly how to target, then you may not get the results that you want. Even though the cost to entry is extremely low with Meta advertising, even Google advertising, you're paying for the click. Same with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, you're paying per click. Sometimes you might have a really good ad. The visitor clicks on your ad and they're like, okay, maybe this is cool, but maybe they're just not in the market to buy. So that comes down to learning as a person operating the ads platform to understand your own customer database, your own customer journey, and understanding that the people who are clicking on your ad are not ready to buy now. So that means you may need to serve them retargeting ads consistently and keep coming up in their face. And that small barrier to entry starts becoming a little bit more and more pronounced. So there's ads like on TikTok, which I also is a $500 buy-in. I think it's a pretty big buy-in, honestly. And you only get one video for $500. You have to put that one video and you spend $500 on that. Same with Hulu. With Hulu, you have to have a higher like production quality. So you may not even be able to film it yourself. You may have to outsource that. So the actual cost would be $2,500 to $3,000 for a single video ad. I guess it would really just depend wholly on the marketing ability of the person making it. And with that being said, there are plenty of service providers out there who are very well capable of doing such a task. And if the budget allows, then that person who has the budget can just hire that service, because the guys in the pressure washing industry, that's their bread and butter, right? It wouldn't make sense to get into a completely different industry just to manage a portion of advertising for the business. So in that case, it may be better to just hire a professional to do it, because that's what they are doing for a living.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody. Once you reach a certain point where you can afford it, you can budget for it. The most
Hmm.
successful people in the world aren't doing every part of their business. They're just hiring the right people and delegating it.
Right.
But obviously, in the beginning, when you do need to, run your own advertising, I always say boots on the ground, yard signs, business cards, the cheapest options, the cheapest buy-ins is your best option. As you bring in more customers, get more revenue, then reinvest that into paid advertising, other sources of advertising. And so something you pointed on that I wanted to discuss was, oh, in regards to retargeting people through marketing. So that's a big thing that people don't realize is that you're running Facebook ads, you might not close them right away. They might not even submit their information. They might not even interact at all right away. But if they continue seeing your content, then eventually they might be ready to move forward. Like someone might have just got their house cleaned a few months ago. They're not too happy, but they're not going to invest again a few months later. But you keep remarketing to them, in a few months, they might move forward, or a year. So through SMS, email marketing, get them into your ecosystem. So they see your Facebook ads, Google, they see you everywhere. Eventually, when they do need the service, they'll be thinking of you. And something else that I really like to throw into the ecosystem is that yard signs, that traditional marketing. Like if they're seeing you when they walk out of their door, they're seeing you when they go on their phone, they're seeing you everywhere. You're going to be the person they move forward with, not, Joe Schmo that's trying to sell them a $99, house wash.
Absolutely.
I really like how you broke down the type of numbers you would expect when it comes to like impressions and everything with the yard signs, because that's really not something I've ever really quite thought about, but it makes a lot of sense. And I always say yard signs is one of the best investment options because you can get in at relatively low, I guess subjectively low cost, but the ROI is always amazing. As long as you at least put some effort into the placement and thought
Mhm.
process behind it. But I'm curious if I don't know how close your relationships are with some clients, like maybe some larger clients you might know. Do you have any case studies where, they just straight up traditional marketing, use yard signs or EDDM? Do you know what kind of like insane results you might have gotten from a campaign like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to keep in touch as much as possible, and reach out to as many people as possible. So I honestly can't remember his name. Forgive me. And I don't remember where he's from, but there was a pressure washing guy. I messaged him asking how everything was going, and he said off an order of 100 yard signs, he got $4,000 in revenue. So I think that was, let's just say it's $4 a yard sign, so that's $400. That's a 10x. Is that 10x? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
10x.
yeah.
So it's pretty good numbers, especially if you break it down. And that's not like too crazy or anything, but it's like something it is on the high end. I'm sure there's going to be experiences and case studies where that's not going to be the case. So I don't want to sit here and promise that $400 will turn into $4,000. It's very variable, and it also depends on the type of yard sign as well. Like the roof washing or the house washing with the phone number is going to be the best bet, hands down, the most profitable as far as the dollar per revenue ratio is concerned. But from a branding perspective, there's also an immeasurable value that you can get out of that too. Like you mentioned, they see your pressure washing name on a driveway that you had just done. Like that branding power is not quantifiable unless you're able to stretch your time frame from 1 month, 2 months to maybe 1 year to even 2 years. If you're able to stretch your mindset and your dollars to that level of time frame, then the branding becomes insanely more valuable because you're building your image over time and it's compounding on itself over time. Whereas the roof washing, 832-598-7226, nobody knows who you are. They just know that you do roof washing and there's a phone number there. And if you're interested, call them. So it's also dependent on the actual what's on the yard sign. So there's that to consider as well.
Yeah, of course. And another thing you can do is kind of try to play a mixture of both where, just the phone number, just the house washer, whatever the basic text will get them through the door. And then
Mhm.
from there, you just do everything you can to remarket to them with the text, the emails, get them seeing your Facebook ads, things like that. But then simultaneously, you can be pushing out the more so brand awareness. So then maybe I've actually never done this, but now that you're mentioning it, it seems like it would be a great idea to run one more so for the brand awareness and long-term play, but then also the short-term gains through, just straight up advertising the service itself. So that I'm sure that would be a great play for someone to still be able to make an ROI, maybe not as large because those other yard signs are more so the long-term play, but still make money while investing in the long-term success of their business.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a really important aspect of it. if someone just started out their pressure washing business, they may not have a year. Like they're operating like within days, like they need their next job so that they can feed their family. So in that circumstance, definitely the service and the phone number is very valuable in that moment. So it's also dependent on the person actually doing the marketing, what's valuable to the business at that moment. So
Mhm. For sure. So another question I did want to ask, but I can almost guarantee I know what your answer would be if someone's just getting started, they don't know too much about marketing, they don't have that large of a budget, but of course they need to advertise their business, like they did the door knocking, friends and family things, but they want to invest in the marketing. Where should their money go?
yeah, I would say yard signs for the value. That's probably what you were going to guess, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just from a dollar invested to the revenue gained, it's just absolute maximum right there. And if we're talking traditional marketing only, and we're talking about like almost, I don't want to say guaranteed results, but like the most likely to provide results and the most likely to provide jobs in the next couple of days, it would definitely be yard signs. And I would dare say it beats out digital marketing in that regard, because the digital marketing typically might have a 2 week to 3 week, maybe even a month and a half, 45 days delay before actually seeing the fruits of the labor of those clicks, those people talking to themselves in their head, like, am I wanting to buy this? Maybe, because we're advertising to people who may not be in the market for it. Whereas anybody who calls a yard sign, they're likely to become a customer. If you have the skill to sell them, at least get out to their property, there's no reason why you may not be able to sell them. Of course, there's going to be various objections, and not everybody who starts a pressure washing business is an excellent salesperson. So that skill will also be acquired over time. But just knowing that a person even called that number is enough of a motivational factor on the customer or prospect side that they're probably ready to buy. That's a buying signal when they call that number. So when they click that link, you don't have access to that person. They may have shown that buying signal, but how do you convert them into a customer? How do you, like, there's a few more a little bit more difficult steps to go through, whereas it is possible, it is doable. But from a dollar to value ratio, your yard signs win any day.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you get a call from someone saying, hey, I just saw your yard sign, I want to get it done like 6 months, so I figured I'd give you a call right now?
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
doesn't really
never.
happen.
They're ready to move forward as soon as they make the call.
Yeah.
And something else I want to mention regarding the yard sign. So obviously you sell yard signs, so you can't really say there's a guarantee of the type of returns you could expect. But speaking as someone who does not sell yard signs, I've never seen someone not make money through yard signs. It's by far one of the safest investments you can make when it comes to marketing, but it's also one of the least barrier to entry. So someone has no idea what they're doing when it comes to marketing, it's really easy to take yard signs and say, hey, there's a lot of people driving by here, let me put it there and get a bunch of eyeballs on it and get some calls. Whereas with something like Facebook ads, Google ads, and messing with all these different parameters, keywords, things like that, there's way more that goes into it. So it's very easy to throw money at that and nothing sticks and you lose all your money. With yard signs, I don't think, it's doable for everybody. It's attainable for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's extremely easy to enter the market, even physically speaking, because you're already out on the road. If somebody is driving, knocking on doors, they're already in the area that they're trying to hit.
Yeah.
So putting a yard sign there is an extra 5 seconds and like half a calorie of energy stepping it into the ground. So from an energy and time perspective, it's absolutely nothing extra, except for just what it takes to place the order. We even have 25, 50 yard signs to make it even lower. So the person who doesn't have that much funds should be able to access it. And even further than that, like I and our graphic designers spend a lot of time in the pressure washing groups. We're constantly looking and analyzing to see the images that people post. Hey, I posted this yard sign, see how many comments it gets. See what the person who posted it is saying. This yard sign got me a lot of money. So we're making templates based on that. And we're starting to learn that full color yard signs tend to work very well, but full color yard signs are also the most expensive. So without getting too technical, when we reduce the number of colors on it, it gets cheaper. So we were able to find a way to provide the effect of having that full color yard sign with only one color by using a technical dot pattern, basically. I don't want to get too technical into that because it's just going to be confusing. But based on the design that works for a lot of people, we condensed it down to the cheapest way possible through our graphic design and our production process, so we can make the barrier to entry even less. So hopefully that'll help the people starting off. They're like extremely just starting off, started yesterday with barely any funds. They just got their savings that they're using to start the business. They should be able to use that to start for maybe like $200 or even less, and should be able to get their foot in the door with marketing, and that should help them have their initial push into the market. So we're constantly trying to improve our products to serve that market, especially as people who have, like, I've seen 15-year-old kids start a pressure washing business. It's awesome to see that. When I see this 15-year-old kid, he has barely $200. It was funny because like a kid literally called our sales team the other day and said, hey, I need to make a payment, and you had to put a credit card down, and the kid was like, my parents won't let me use their card, so I have to get back to you. I think it's like, it's funny, but also it's like that hustle mentality. Like, people like that are starting pressure washing businesses every single day with less and less and less funds. So that means we have to help these people who are starting these businesses offer to get into the market with less and less funds. So that's what we're constantly trying to do.
Yeah, which of course is tough with, inflation. I'm sure your prices are going through the roof right now. But I actually did notice that recently, where not recently, I guess you've been doing it for a while, but you guys have the one color option, but you have that, I don't know if it's called gradient effect, or
Yeah.
kind of like that change in color, which is the same color, but you just start throwing white in there, so it makes it look like it's shifting to a different color. And that definitely makes it more engaging and eye-catching. So I'm not sure what the stats look like, for that compared to like a multicolor print, but I'm sure in terms of ROI, because obviously the pricing is a little different, I'm sure that's probably getting the best ROI. Do you know if that's true, or are you not really
I
sure?
do know it's true, and based on what I've seen anyway. And the reason we came up with those designs is because of the testing that we have done. We did some like beta testing with customers around here,
Hmm.
and we got some good responses from it. So, but yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, the gradient one. I think you also have made an order from like this somewhat recently,
Hmm.
and what I noticed, like the full color designs, usually if you put them in like the side of the road, it's too much. You got too much going on. You're just going to confuse the audience. Usually those are the ones that have the picture of the logo, and the logo's taking up 30 to 40% of the yard sign. So you have another 40 to 50% of the yard sign for every other service that you do. And typically what's on those type of yard signs, every service that they do, gutter cleaning, pressure washing, house washing, roof cleaning, soft washing, all that stuff. So then you have like just a little bit of space for the phone number, and then people also like to put their website as well. So when you're driving past that and you get 3 seconds to look at it, you don't catch any of that. None
Yeah.
of that registers in the visitor's head, the viewer's head, because there's just too much going on. So when you take out all of that stuff and just have a gradient with the services pretty big and a phone number only, and we made these as templates. So the people buying these yard signs don't have to do any guesswork. Like, we made these templates for this reason. So because they work. And just by using those templates and leveraging our expertise and all the time that we spent determining what works best, you can actually take advantage of this yourself and use those. So
Yeah, yeah, I see it all the time where people get these like insane yard signs that are full with a bunch of different colors, the same logo, and takes up all the real estate and gives anyone who's looking at it information overload. And you need to realize whoever's seeing the yard sign probably has 2 to 5 seconds where they're going to be seeing the yard sign. So if they're like checking out your logo, checking out, everything that's going on, they're not capturing your contact info, they're not getting their phone number. They probably won't even really know what the yard sign is meant for in the first place. So it's really like an ego play if you're going to be doing that.
mhm.
So obviously, like, you want to have this brand awareness, you want to get your name and logo out there, but that I would refer to as like ego marketing, when
Mhm.
doing something like that won't get you as good as result as phone number, service, and that's
Mhm.
it. Maybe like website or something. But having that less information, which it doesn't look as good, it's not as pretty, but it gets much better results. If you're not doing that, then that's just ego marketing at that point.
Yeah, especially if it's placed on the side of the road. Whereas if you put it in front of a customer's house that you just washed, then you might be able to get away with something like that. Of course, still less is more. You're still
Yeah.
want to have your logo maybe 25% maximum, and then you have a little bit of space for the services, and maybe just list 3 or 4 services, whatever fits in like one section, like 15% of it. And then the biggest aspect has to be the contact information. So even then, it's still really important, like how you design it. You can still do a full color sign and still brand your logo, because of course the brand is important, but once you get so much of the logo and start marketing your ego, then you're just losing everything. So it's like it's a waste of money at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Aside from the stuff we already talked about, obviously, yard signs it's the way to go. That's the main form or the best form of advertising for most people in the beginning stages. But is there any advice or tips you would have for someone trying to get into traditional marketing aside from, the stuff we already mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So mailers is very popular in the pressure washing industry. And mailers also is pretty expensive, and it's not a one-time thing either. From many of the people that I talk to in the industry, you have to hit the same locations 3 times before you see a result. But then once you do start seeing the results, they start coming in droves. So it's one of those like long play type things where if you have like 6 months and a little bit of capital to invest into it, and you have like 6 months, you do 3 iterations of mailers to the same area, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when you start seeing results. So if anybody tries mailers once and doesn't get any response from it, don't give up. And especially if you give up, you just wasted that first trial. So it usually takes up to 2 to 3 times. There's other traditional marketing as well. Door hangers, for instance. Door hangers work extremely well, especially for people who are going and knocking on doors. It's a surefire way if you don't get in touch with somebody, because people work, people may not be at home, or maybe up with the baby trying to sleep, or all kinds of reasons why they won't come to the door. Maybe they just don't want to answer to some stranger. uh Leave the door hanger. And if you have like check boxes on there where you could say like you have a list of the services, and you put the checkbox, the driveway looks dirty, you have algae on the side of your house, and your roof needs cleaning, I could do all this for $1,500, $2,000 or whatever, and contact information. You leave that there, and you basically customize the quote for the prospect without even talking to them. So that's another way to take advantage of traditional marketing. There is, of course, uh billboards, which I've only ever seen one person use billboards, and I believe he's in Virginia, but he didn't really have very good results from it. I don't know if it, I don't want to speak for the entire country, and I don't want to speak for the entire industry, but from what I've seen from that one guy, plus a couple other things, and we've also done billboards ourselves, it didn't seem to work. Like it's more of a branding thing.
Yeah.
Bigger the company gets better results from those because they can have bigger budgets, they can put it in more places. And traditional marketing can go even flyers as well, like you go out passing out flyers, but I don't see that working as effective for this pressure washing industry as it would for, let's say, club promotion. Like they get the most value out of handing out flyers after events and stuff. But like set up trade shows, you can set up a trade booth at a house and home and garden convention in your area, and those could be pretty effective too. You have your own little booth where you have a banner with the backdrop, and it has your information. You set up that booth, probably like $1,500 investment for the booth itself, plus 500 to another 1,000 in marketing. So maybe like $3,000 to $4,000 investment, but you get access to all these homeowners who are looking hot market, ready to invest in their home. So that could be an opportunity as well. But aside
No,
from that, that's pretty much what I got.
yeah, that last tip is a great tip. Like, just get your name out there, network, speak with people. You definitely need to actually care and want to speak with people. But as long as you do, like, get out there, speak with people, have your branding for people to see, and you're going to get an ROI regardless, whether it's immediately or over time, you're going to get that money back. But I find it interesting about like the billboards. It's essentially, one huge yard sign in one
Yep.
location. So like the investment for a month of a billboard, which I'm sure you need to do at least like 6 or 12 months
Mhm.
terms. 1 month of a billboard would probably, I would assume, the same cost as a few hundred yard signs, or at least like 200 yard signs, if not more.
Yeah, it's
So
thousands of
imagine all
dollars.
the people driving by, walking by, seeing the billboards. Those people will probably see a yard sign area too. Maybe not every single one because it's a bit smaller than a billboard, but most of those people will also see the yard sign. So you're paying significantly more, like $4 yard sign compared to maybe $1,000 billboard, and it might even be more. I'm not even sure.
That's way more.
But for the same eyes, if not a bit less, but a
Hmm.
huge difference in terms of ROI.
Yep, that's pretty accurate.
Cool. Well, that was all the questions I had for today. It was awesome speaking with you, and I know a lot of people that are kind of lost when it comes to, traditional marketing, digital marketing, what they should be doing to advertise their business in the early stages. I know this is gonna be super valuable for them. So I really appreciate you hopping on today. So if anyone did want to connect with you or learn a bit more about UZ marketing, where could they find you guys online?
Yeah, they can find us on YouTube. They can find us on Facebook. We're on all the social platforms. They can give us a call, and the phone number 832-598-7226. Speak with any one of our product specialists to learn more about our products. You don't have to buy. Just want to talk. We got you. Yeah, they send us a message on Instagram. We're sending a message on Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. We're available.
All right, awesome. Well, once again, thanks for hopping on today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Michael. It's good to see you, and hope you viewers get a lot of value out of this. So see you guys
Yeah,
next time.
I know they will.